Hello, Mr. Jesse here, bringing you another tutorial by Inspired Studios. Today we're going to draw this awesome volcano scenery over here, and we'll be using a couple of supplies. Now, before we get started, just make sure that this is appropriate level for you to draw at. I would say this will be most likely around the ages of 6 to 7, where I see kids being able to draw this way, but this will be in the 4 to 7 category range on our YouTube page, so if you have a really advanced a really advanced toddler, then have to try this out too. Otherwise, if you just want to do this for fun, just do it for fun. That's totally okay too. Just enjoy the art. Now, today we're going to be using a couple of supplies, so let's go over them. We're going to be using our pencils over here, our erasers, our Sharpies, our sketchbooks, and our 50 color Pentel oil pastels. All right. And this is the one that we usually use at the studio, so I will be using the colors from the set. Now, if for some reason you don't have the set, try your best to match the colors that I have. All right, but other than that, get yourself ready, prepare yourself for making the art piece, and as soon as you're done with that, get ready to begin. So before we do start, just also remember you are all always welcome at any time to pause the video to catch up or go back to catch up. Sometimes things may be confusing for some people, and that's totally fine, all right? If it takes a moment for you to understand what's going on in the picture to make it better, then please go ahead and do it, okay? So let's begin. So I'm going to start off by just grabbing my pencil, okay? And let's do a little bit of sketching, yeah? So over here, I have a sketch that's kind of been broken up into what we call the rainbow method at our studio. And the rainbow method basically is a way to teach kids to draw the big general shapes first, and then the smaller specific detailed shapes later. So in this case over here, we want them to follow the colors of the rainbow to do that. So to begin, I'm going to start off by kind of drawing those two red areas over there. There we go. 1, 2. So make sure you get those two lines first. And the next thing you want to do is you want to get these two yellow ones over here. Now in this whole stage in the beginning, what we want to make sure is that we're drawing basically the land and the bushes, because those are the two biggest shapes that we kind of see first. And we want to make sure that the land is lower than halfway from the paper. Also, don't forget to keep your paper longer sideways, okay? So longer horizontally. So I know you kids love to call that hot dog, but we're going to call it landscape, yeah? So make sure to have your image on landscape, and afterwards, draw in the size and shape of your land and the size and shape of your bush. Now we're going to go back and draw those details later, but as of right now, what we're going to do is we're going to set in some other big shapes next. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start drawing the rocks. And I start off with the biggest rock, because the biggest rock is going to take up more space. And then afterwards, I set in the smaller rocks, kind of like that. And then what we'll do is we'll start getting the trees too. So the reason why you want to get these shapes next is because they're the next biggest on there, and they're also easy to draw as of this moment. If we start doing the background stuff right now, we're going to have to erase things later. So let's overlap the things in the background into the back later. And as of right now, we'll just focus on what we have in our midground over here. So in case you didn't know, the middle ground over here is called your midground. Over here is your foreground, and the back is the background. That's why they're called that. Let's get our coconuts in too. Make sure you draw good shapes. All right. If your shapes aren't looking that good, A, you're probably drawing too fast, or B, you're not trying to draw good shapes. If you constantly keep trying over and over again and it becomes too frustrating, just leave them the way they are though, okay? That means you tried your best. All I want you to do is to try your best. And then what we're going to do next is we are going to start working on the green parts. So for this part, before we do begin the green parts, let's add the bumps on the bushes over here. So that way we don't have to erase any of that green part to add the bumps in later. And then what we can do is we can start kind of drawing this plane. It's kind of like a backwards, it's kind of like a number, like a 3, right? And then over here, we got our land kind of going in like that. And it's a really thin piece of land. There we go. Perfect. Then what we're going to do next is we're going to start getting the bushes in the back, all right? Now, you can also get started doing these little leaves coming out too. Make sure not to make them too big. Most of them are pretty similar in size to each other. This one's pretty close to this. Should have done the big one first. Always do the bigger ones first. That's okay. It still looks good. And erase anything you don't need. Alright, so this will help you clean up your tracing later. I mean, you can just trace everything and then erase afterwards, but if you have a hard time knowing what you should trace and not trace, go ahead and erase some of your extra things first so you don't get confused later. Okay, next what we're going to do is we're going to get started doing the bushes in the back. So again, I kind of get the size of the bush. Kind of like that. Overlaps this back one over here, kind of like that. And then what we're going to do is we're start drawing bumps, okay? Now, if you can make the bumps a little bit smaller, and what that'll do is it'll make it look further away, because we have these big bumps in the front over here, so we need these small bumps in the back. Actually, this is a little bit too close, so if you do find yourself drawing, if things are looking a little bit too close, go ahead and redraw the shape. See, I'm going to give it a little bit of breathing room so our eye can be let into the image. Just keep it straight. There we go. Perfect. Let's do that to the other side too. Awesome. And then afterwards, what we're going to do is we're going to start kind of doing the leaves, okay? So to do the leaves, the easiest thing to do is to draw the lines that are coming out first, kind of like this, and then closing the gap afterwards. Make sure to fix any mistakes that you make. Alright. Then before I do this tree over here, I'm just going to start getting some of the volcano in too. So the top of the volcano is about the same height as this tree, and then it comes down kind of like this. It goes behind the tree. Perfect. And then this one kind of goes over here. Excellent. And then what I'm going to do next is start doing the smoke coming out. The easiest way to do that is to kind of do a volcano that reflects that one, and then draw bumps kind of coming out like that. Right, looks like the volcano is spitting out stuff from its head. And then you can start kind of working on the goo the same way, or not the goo, sorry, the the lava kind of the same way. So the reference. So I use kind of like a basic shape to draw it first, and then I build upon that basic shape, and then when I erase all my lines, I should have a really nice shape for that volcano lava. Just a little more. There we go. Perfect. Make my volcano just a little steeper. There we go. Excellent. You can do the same for the rest of these over here. So if I look at this, there's kind of like a V coming out, another one kind of coming over here, and then what I'll do is I'll just add kind of like bumps around these lines to kind of help create, kind of using these lines as a guideline to create the path, I need to draw the smoke in. Excellent. Now that's done. Now, if your sketch is a little messy, that's okay. Like kind of like over here, we're gonna trace it later. So when we do trace it, make sure to trace in the right line so it looks clean after you've erased your pencil lines. So it should look as if once you've erased your pencil lines, everything in there is really nice and neat. Perfect. Excellent. Last but not least, the clouds. I'll do the clouds similarly, or you just kind of do them like that. Mountain back here. 2. Pretty nice. There we go. One big cloud. And then one going behind the volcano. Make sure it's not too close to the volcano, like the smoke. Otherwise, people are going to be confused. So for this, like, I need to make sure that I have a good amount of space. Perfect. Then let's get the flowers on the bottom. So to do the flowers, you can just kind of draw circles. If you want to have some overlapping out, that's fine too. Draw a dot in the middle of each of them. And then draw in the petals. And you're going to use that circle kind of as a guideline. There we go. Nice work. That's pretty much how the sketch is going to look. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab a Sharpie and get started tracing. So for the tracing section here, I'm going to use a Sharpie, okay? And whatever I trace, I make sure you also trace as well, all right? Now we're not going to trace everything here. So for example, okay, when we are tracing the bushes over here, we're only going to be tracing the bumps of the bush and not those lines that we drew to kind of use as guidelines for the bush, okay? So just be kind of aware of what you are tracing, what overlaps, what doesn't overlap. I'm using a computer so I can like erase these marks, but since you're using probably like a marker, I want y'all to just be really, really careful, okay? Because you're not gonna have, you know, the joy of erasing your tracing marks like I do. So if I were you, don't trace too fast. Don't trace too slow either. Otherwise, your lines are gonna look wiggly. But it's better to trace but I would say it's better to trace a little slower and accurately than fast and like all messy. Make sure your lines are consistent, kind of like that. So yeah, pretty much what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to fast forward a little bit and speed up the video. Alright, so that way y'all don't have to watch me trace this in for like next couple of minutes. So just sit on tight and watch the video. If there's anything I need to say, I'll be sure to slow it back down and say something. But other than that, I'll see y'all when we're done tracing. Excellent work. Now that you're finished with the tracing, let's begin the coloring phase. So for the coloring phase, you're going to need your Pento oil pastels, and if you would like some paint for the white sea foam, you can grab some paint, but if you don't have paint at home, we're just going to be using our white oil pastels to add those sea foams in there. So I'll explain how that works. Now, in a previous video, I mentioned that these were the numbers for the oil pastels in the box. I recently found out that the numbers don't match. They are the right colors from the box, but this list was just one that I just found online to help y'all out. But these are the ones that we usually use at the studio still. But this list is just not numbered correctly. But these colors are still in the box. So what I want you to do is, as best as possible, try to pick out the same colors that I do. Okay, and that way you can improve on your color matching through observation. Okay, so let's begin. So to start off, let's erase all of our pencil lines. Okay, so you're going to grab your eraser, and if you traced it correctly, your pencil line should disappear and leave just the ink part of your drawing, and it should be very, very clean, kind of like this. So after you're done with that, we're going to get started by coloring the sky. And the sky is divided into some separate parts. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get like this purplish blue over here. I'm going to draw a line. You can get a pencil and draw a line first, then erase the pencil line, and this is kind of like where it would be blue on top over here. Okay, and then next we have kind of like this purple. Okay, so I'm going to grab this like reddish purple. Let's draw a line going from the other side, kind of like that. Perfect. All right, and then a pink and a yellow. And for the yellow, just make sure it's not like a yellow ochre. Make sure it's like a lighter yellow. I'm drawing on the computer so I can erase these colors, but be careful. Try not to get them inside of your other shapes while you are coloring this, okay? But that being said, what we can do is we can get started just kind of like blocking these in. Alright, and basically for this top part, you want this whole top part to be blue. For the middle part, you want it to be this reddish purple. Okay, and for the pink part, you're going to have it over here. On the very bottom, you're going to have yellow. Alright, so I'm going to fast forward this section just a little bit, so y'all don't have to watch me take minutes to color this. Alright, so just hold on tight, and when we're done, we're going to get started working on some of the other parts of the picture. Excellent work. So make sure you get all of your white spaces once you're done with the sky, okay? Leave no white spaces, alright? And if you're a more advanced student, feel free to try to blend them too. So you can color some of the purple into the blue, and it should kind of start blending like this. But for this picture, we are just going to keep it like this for this tutorial, okay? But yeah, feel free to do more if you know how. But other than that, what we're going to get started doing next is we'll get started doing the water as well. So water is two different kinds of blue. So for the water, it's going to be like this darker, more turquoise-looking blue. On the top, it's going to be more of like this sky blue. Again, if you know how to blend, feel free to blend, okay? You want to make sure that they are blended if you want it to look a little bit more realistic. But if you don't know how to blend, what I want you to do is make the bottom part of the water darker. Okay, and then keep the top part of the water lighter, all right? And we will come back and add some textures here, okay? If you don't know what textures are the way things look and feel, all right? And now that you have that done, what we'll do is we'll probably start doing the greens, all right? Now, I'm going to try and stay away from like the volcano for now, just because it's like kind of a darker color. What I don't want to happen is for the volcano is if you use a color too dark, Well, now I guess like since we have the yellows on, it's more okay. But let's just say we don't want to get the like greens too dirty. Okay, if we do the volcano first and it gets into our bushes, and we put the green on top, it will make the green all it will mix into that green. So whereas like the darker color will definitely cover the lighter color much easier. And then so let's get let's see like this like yellow green. Okay, and what I want you to do is I want you to draw kind of like bumps like this. All right. The top part over here is going to be like this light green. The bottom part over here is going to be like this medium green, kind of like that. Go. Excellent work. So now that you have the bushes done, what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the front bushes too, okay? So for the front bushes, you're going to have to go with a darker green. And you want to do kind of the same thing, all right? Now the reason why I'm going with the darker green is usually darker images, when things get up closer to you, your darks will become, well, I guess it depends on the light too, but generally, there is a French technique called a repoussoir, where they like to put basically what a repoussoir is they'll put something in the front, like in the foreground, in order to push the depth of the image. Okay, now usually they do this by adding a shape, so it's usually like a silhouette, but in this case, we're just going to make it darker, and that's already going to push it to the front. The rule is when things go to the back, they'll generally get lighter. Now it's the same for the front, but sometimes it's still pretty clear up in the front. So you just have to keep that in mind. And then same for the light part. You still want to make the top part of the light part darker too. So what I'm going to go with is kind of like this grayish green. There we go. Make sure not to get inside of any of your flowers. Perfect. Same for these sections. Excellent work. Clean up my spaces here. Try to do as clean of a job as you can. Excellent. So we got a lot of our, about like 50% of our image done. What we're going to do next is let's do the clouds. So for the clouds, I'm going to grab kind of an orange. All right, and for the bottom of the cloud, it's going to be, actually, let's make that a bit lighter. More of a yellow orange. There we go. It's pretty nice. Okay, and then pretty much what we're going to do from there is you can kind of get like this light purple and fill in the rest with light purple. There we go. Excellent. And then let's get started doing the leaves on the tree too, okay? So for the leaves on the tree, you're going to go with kind of like this medium green that we use for this bush over here. And just get half of these to be dark. And then I try to have the dark ones on the bottom so that it looks like they're shadow. Excellent. And then we'll get the top parts to be kind of light green. It's the same light green as these ones over here. These look really nice so far too. Very colorful picture actually. Right now there's too much color. We're gonna need that brown from the volcano later to kind of tone things down. Excellent. And we can also start getting these ones over here to be this yellow as well. Now, if you want to change up some of the colors a bit, that's okay. You can do that too. So, for example, I can use some of my gray green, some of the ones more in the shadow. I can use some of like this dark green over here. There we go. Some of this medium green. Oh, actually no medium green. Some of this light green again, kind of like that. Let's bring some of the gray green on this side too. So that's totally fine to do. All right. And but if you want to follow the reference and just keep them all light green, that's totally fine as well. What we're gonna do next is I'm gonna grab some of that orange again. All right, and what we're gonna do is we're just gonna outline the edge of our volcano. Try not to get it inside of our rock of the volcano. Try to keep it in the lava, kind of like how I'm doing it. Perfect. And then from there on out, you can go ahead and get that light orange we got earlier, and you know, actually what we're going to do instead is let's grab this red of the volcano and instead make it, grab this orange of the volcano, let's make it red instead. All right, so instead of this tone, it should be maybe more like this, just like barely different. But for the other one, we're gonna make it a little bit more orange, but not as orange as the one that we had before. So you want one that's very close to the way the red looks, so that it just kind of barely stands out like this. Okay, and then afterwards we can grab some. Let's grab actually some of this purple again over here, and we can do the back mountains. It's really nice. And last but not least, the volcano. Grab your darkest brown, and the darkest brown must be kind of in this section on the bottom over here. And then what I want you to do afterwards is you can grab your burnt sienna, just like this lighter, redder brown, and that can be for the second section, right here. Excellent. And just make sure to be clean, okay? Like, you see like these little areas here. The oil pastels, you need to be very clean. Oil pastels smudge a lot too, so you gotta be very careful. Perfect. Excellent. And what we'll do right now is we're probably going to finish up some of the rest of these trees over here. So to do that, what we can do is we can grab some this number 23 over here, kind of like this peach. And let's skip every other one, kind of like that. And go ahead and grab your burnt sienna and fill the in-betweens. Okay. So if you can mix a little bit of burnt sienna into there, you can do that too. That might look really, really nice. But if not, you can just go with this sand over here. Sand is a little bit too light for my taste, but if you look at it from far away, it actually looks very colorful. It's kind of fun to look at. It has a more powerful pattern, and that's totally fine for this case. Coconuts can be dark browns. If you want to make them different kinds of browns, that's fine too. Let's get the rest of this trunk. Perfect. And then let's do the flowers. For the flowers, you can pick and actually, you know what? Let's do the rocks first. So for the rocks, get a dark gray on one side, kind of like this. For shadow, you can just do it one color too if you don't know how to do the shadow. And then for the other side, you can kind of use a light gray. And make sure that the division between the light gray and the dark gray is clear. Okay, kind of like that. And then get your burnt sienna again, and what I want you to do is for the floor over here, this is going to be burnt sienna. And the other one is actually going to be sand. Excellent. grab the dark gray again. Let's do this part. I'm going to speed through this section, so just follow. Just make sure you get a dark gray and a light gray. And then last but not least, your flowers. For your flowers, try to use colors that you used in the sky. What that does is it kind of sandwiches your picture together in between similar color schemes. If you want to use different shades of that color, that's fine too. So maybe like use a different kind of blue. Choose different ones. Make sure they're not too colorful though. Well, actually, this picture's pretty colorful, so it's okay. But usually, if everything's not colorful and you make one area colorful, we're gonna look at that one area more. Like purple, and then like another one of these blue ones or something. Awesome. And then here you have your volcano piece. Now, if you want to push it just a little bit more, okay, you can grab some of this brown and add some texture. Kind of like that. Okay, for sand. On the top, you can kind of spread it out. You can do this with color pencil too. And on the other side, you can do the same, but with a darker brown. More as you get near to the water, kind of like this. And as you go away from the water, you can spread it out. Careful not to make lines like this, okay? Try to keep them as dots. And then afterwards, let's just say you want to add some of that white foam and then like some water texture. Well, we'll do the water texture first. You just got to add some lines in the water, kind of like this. Now, because your oil pastels are going to smear, it should look a little bit lighter, and that's okay. Just get some water texture, okay? And then once you're done with that, you can get your white oil pastel and then pressing a little bit harder, but not too hard, otherwise it'll break your pastel. You can start adding dots on top of this black line so that it looks like the water is reaching that line. Kind of like that. And then afterwards, that's pretty much it. So there you go. You have your prehistoric volcano scenery. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about our studio or the way we teach or things like that, feel free to contact us with the contact information at the end of the video. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you all next time. Take care.